On a freezing April night, the largest liner of her time crossed the Atlantic, confident, fast, and dangerously vulnerable. For the passengers, it was a floating palace. Few imagined that comfort could hide so many weaknesses. On the bridge, decisions were made with incomplete caution, despite known ice warnings ahead. The captain slightly altered the route southward, but the speed remained high. Warning messages arrived through the night, but not all were treated with the urgency they deserved. Far ahead, an iceberg waited in darkness, almost invisible against the cold black water. A flat sea makes icebergs harder to spot, as there is no visible white foam at their base. The lookouts scanned the horizon without binoculars, a simple missing tool that may have cost precious minutes, adding to the absence of additional watchmen. The sea was strangely calm. Without waves breaking against the ice, the danger became harder to see. Speed remained high in an ice field. Confidence overruled prudence and the margin for error vanished, warnings remaining ignored. Below deck, the engines drove the ship forward, powerful, impressive, and tragically unforgiving. Inside, music and luxury continued, while outside the conditions demanded slower speed and sharper caution. An important warning from the Mesaba, indicating an ice field with numerous icebergs, was not relayed to the bridge. Human judgment failed to turn warnings into action. Then the iceberg appeared. By the time it was seen, the ship was already too close. The bridge reacted in panic. Orders came fast, but physics allowed little room for correction. The iceberg towered beside the liner, revealing the terrible scale of what had been underestimated. The collision was not a dramatic head-on crash, but a long scrape that opened the hull below. Seawater began pouring into the lower compartments, exposing a fatal flaw in the ship's design. The major problem: the watertight bulkheads didn't extend high enough. Too many compartments were flooding for the ship to survive. The ship could remain afloat with approximately 4 damaged compartments, but the collision compromised at least 5. The captain received the news in silence. The damage was irreversible, but evacuation still had to be managed. Passengers moved through corridors confused and underinformed, many still unsure whether the danger was real. The Titanic was huge, brightly lit, and seemingly stable. Lifeboats were prepared too slowly, and there were not enough seats for everyone on board. The Titanic carried approximately 2,200 people, but its lifeboats could only accommodate about 1,178 people. Some boats left half empty. This can be explained by confusion, lack of training, passenger disbelief, and the difficulty of quickly getting people onto the boats. Families waited anxiously on deck, trapped between disbelief, class barriers, and confusing instructions. The musicians kept playing, a symbol of courage, order, and the terrible calm before final disaster. As the ship began to tilt, denial ended. The disaster could no longer be minimized. The operators sent out distress calls throughout the night, hoping that nearby ships would understand the urgency of the situation. The Carpathia was too far away to arrive on the scene in time. Water reached the grand staircase, turning luxury into a terrifying monument to avoidable mistakes. Passengers climbed higher and higher, but the rising water followed them through the heart of the ship. Lifeboats scattered across the dark ocean, carrying survivors away from the screams and the sinking lights. The stern rose dramatically, proving that the ship once called unsinkable was breaking under its own weight. The final lights flickered across the doomed liner, then faded as the ocean swallowed the ship. Survivors sat in silence, surrounded by cold water, realizing that rescue had come too late for many. At dawn, the ocean looked calm again, but the scale of the human failure was impossible to hide. The sinking of the Titanic resulted in approximately 1,500 deaths and about 700 survivors. Investigators later reviewed the disaster: speed, warnings, lifeboats, and decisions that should have been different. The sinking of the Titanic was not only a tragedy, it was a catastrophe that could have been avoided.